They turn clowns into nightmares, phone calls into death sentences, and mirrors into portals you still don't trust. In this video, we're counting down 17 horror movies from the 90s that absolutely ruined your childhood. And by the end, you might be sleeping with the lights on all over again. Number 17. Candyman, 1992. It started like a dare. Say his name 5 times in the mirror and wait. But Candyman made sure no one ever made it past 2. Based on a Clive Barker short story and set in Chicago's Cabrini Green, the horror here wasn't a fantasy, it was something you could imagine happening just down the street. Tony Todd didn't just play the role, he owned it. Calm, composed, and full of quiet menace, even when real bees were crawling into his mouth on set. The scares weren't flashy, they were patient. A bathroom mirror became a portal, a whisper turned into a death sentence, and suddenly, your own reflection couldn't be trusted. Cabrini Green wasn't a set, it was a real place, which made the fear stick even harder. The violence was brutal, but the mood was worse, thick with dread and folklore. Even now, some of us still pause before mirrors, just in case. Number 16. Scream, 1996. Scream didn't just bring slasher movies back, it rewrote the rules while mocking them. Wes Craven made a film that was in on the joke, but still terrifying. Ghostface wasn't a monster from beyond, he was someone with a voice changer and a grudge. The scariest part? He could be anyone. The opening scene with Drew Barrymore flipped everything on its head. Big star, big scare, then gone in minutes. You knew right away this wasn't safe territory. That burning popcorn, the frantic pacing, the call that turns deadly, it's still one of the best openings in horror. The film was smart, fast, and full of unease. The characters knew the horror movie playbook and still couldn't survive it. That made it personal. Ghostface wasn't supernatural. He slipped, he bled, he panicked, which made him real. And if you grew up with this one, chances are you started letting the phone ring a few extra times before answering, just to be sure. Number 15. It, 1990. It didn't just scare you, it rewired the way you looked at things. Clowns, sewers, even birthday balloons. Tim Curry's Pennywise was all teeth and charm, waiting in the places kids were supposed to feel safe. A mini-series on network TV shouldn't have been this disturbing, but it was. And for a lot of kids, this was their first taste of horror. The fear built slowly. Pennywise didn't jump out, he crept in, grinning from drains, flickering in old photos, whispering from the dark. The adults couldn't see him, couldn't help. And that's what stuck. This was horror that said, you're on your own. The shape-shifting wasn't just a cool trick, it tapped into your own fears, whatever they were. Add in a cast of believable, relatable kids, and suddenly you weren't watching a scary story, you were part of it. And clowns, they've never recovered. Number 14. The Blair Witch Project, 1999. It started with missing students and ended with a generation too scared to camp again. The Blair Witch Project didn't show you anything. No monster, no gore, and somehow that made it worse. Shot with shaky handhelds and whispered tension, it felt like you were watching something you weren't supposed to. The line between movie and reality blurred fast. People thought it was real. The stick figures, the stone piles, the tent shaking at night, it was all a suggestion, and it worked. That final shot, just someone standing in the corner, is still one of the creepiest endings ever. No music, no jump, just dread. The woods were never the same after this. Number 13, The Sixth Sense, 1999. I See Dead People. Haley Joel Osment said it quiet, like it was a secret, and somehow that made it hit harder. The Sixth Sense wasn't loud. It was cold air, red doorknobs, and ghosts who didn't know they were dead. M. Night Shyamalan didn't just drop a twist, he built a mood you could drown in. The scares came slow, through shadows and silence. The boy wasn't running, he was stuck. And so were we. The big reveal didn't just flip the story, it made you question everything that came before it. And afterward, you watched every hallway just a little more carefully. Number 12. Misery, 1990. Annie Wilkes was all smiles and soup until the hammer came out. In Misery, the monster wasn't hiding in the shadows. She was right there by the bed. Kathy Bates plays her as terrifyingly calm, like nothing she's doing is strange at all. She's not a ghost, she's a fan. And that's what made it so real. That hobbling scene, everyone remembers the sound. But it's the silence afterward that really sticks. James Caan's trap performance added to the dread. No escape, no help, just snow outside and a woman who loves you too much. If you've ever worried about obsessive fans, this is where it started. Number 11. Event Horizon, 1997. It looked like sci-fi. It turned into something else entirely. Event Horizon took the haunted house trope and shot it into space. A missing ship, a ghost crew, and something unspeakable on board. The design felt like a church turned inside out. The screams came from nowhere. And Sam Neill's slow descent into madness? Still haunting. The movie was cut to avoid overwhelming audiences, and even the tamer version was almost too much. One shot of what the ship had seen was enough to ruin sleep for a week. Space had always been vast and empty. Now it felt full and watching. Number 10. Wes Craven's New Nightmare, 1994. Freddy Krueger was scary in the 80s, but in New Nightmare, he was something else. He was real. Wes Craven flipped the script by making Freddy a dark force trying to escape into our world through the Nightmare on Elm Street movies themselves. Heather Langenkamp plays a version of herself, stalked not by a character, but by a legend trying to become flesh. It's meta, it's self-aware, and somehow it's even scarier. Freddy's look is updated, more monstrous, more reptilian, and his claws are part of his hand now. He doesn't just haunt dreams. He calls on the phone, he shows up at your kid's school, he blurs the line between script and reality. The earthquake scenes, they were shot during real aftershocks in LA, adding another layer of eerie realism. Craven's own cameo as a version of himself, writing the script for the events you're watching, brilliant and unsettling. New Nightmare didn't just scare you, it made you question whether watching horror could let something in. Number 9. The Faculty, 1998. Aliens in high school, two things that are scary enough on their own, but The Faculty combined them into something unforgettable. Directed by Robert Rodriguez and written by Kevin Williamson, this film hit that perfect late 90s sweet spot of teen drama and sci-fi body horror. It starts with students and teachers acting strange, too calm, too robotic. Then things spiral, fast. Turns out the faculty's been taken over by alien parasites, and it's spreading through the student body. The movie is packed with faces you knew from other shows, Josh Hartnett, Elijah Wood, Jordana Brewster, and that made it even more unnerving. These weren't strangers. These were people you liked. And now they were being taken. The effects were practical, gooey, and horrifying. The drug test scene where everyone has to inhale a powdery pen to prove they're human? Classic tension. And if you were already nervous about gym showers, the locker room scenes probably pushed you over the edge. It was stylish, clever, and for some of us, the reason we started side-eyeing our teachers. Number 8. Arachnophobia, 1990. For a lot of 90s kids, Arachnophobia was the first movie that made you pull your feet up on the couch. This wasn't some ancient myth or cursed videotape. This was just spiders, regular ones, and that's what made it worse. Directed by Frank Marshall, the movie followed a small-town doctor, played by Jeff Daniels, as he tried to figure out why people were dying in oddly mysterious ways. The answer? A deadly breed of South American spider that mated with a local house spider and created a swarm of highly venomous offspring. The production used over 300 real spiders, each carefully wrangled and trained with everything from heat to dental floss. That popcorn bowl scene? That was a real spider crawling across that guy's chest. The fear was real, especially since Jeff Daniels has an actual spider phobia. Every dark corner, every shoe, every sink became suspect after this movie. It wasn't just a scare, it was a lifestyle change. Number 7. Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, 1992. By the time Hellraiser 3 came out, we thought we knew what to expect from Pinhead, but this sequel yanked the Cenobite nightmare right into our world, and it was a lot to handle. The story takes place in a city nightclub scene, which already feels chaotic, and then Pinhead shows up, dragging hell with him. The nightclub massacre is still one of the most disturbing sequences in 90s horror. Screaming crowds, metal hooks, spinning CDs used as weapons, everything was turned into something deadly. The Cenobites this time weren't just abstract horrors from another realm. They were former humans turned into body horror monstrosities. A DJ with CDs embedded in his head, a bartender fused with bar tools. All of it created using practical effects and gallons of blood. Doug Bradley's Pinhead got even more philosophical, delivering lines that sounded like sermons from a sadist. And then there's the church scene. Pinhead walking down the aisle, arms outstretched like a mockery of Christ. Yeah, that image stayed with a lot of people longer than they'd admit. Number 6. From Dusk Till Dawn, 1996. Imagine renting a crime thriller and getting halfway through before it turns into a vampire bloodbath. That's From Dusk Till Dawn. It starts with George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino as two dangerous brothers on the run. They're intense, unpredictable, and violent. But things really go off the rails when they hide out at the Titty Twister, a desert strip club that's also a feeding ground for ancient vampires. The switch is jarring, and that's exactly what makes it stick. One minute, it's a gritty crime movie. The next, Salma Hayek is dancing with a live python while the bar erupts into a war zone of fangs, fire, and fake blood. The practical effects team created over 100 different vampire looks, using minimal CGI and a whole lot of latex. It's messy, it's wild, and if you watched it too young, it probably felt like the cinematic equivalent of getting smacked in the face. You just weren't ready. And honestly, that's what made it great. Number 5. Ticks, 1993. If you were already uneasy around bugs, Ticks did you no favors. This direct-to-video horror movie has lived in cult infamy for one reason. It's unbelievably gross. The story centers on a group of teens on a wilderness retreat who stumble into a forest infested with mutated ticks the size of fists. The parasites aren't just biting, they're burrowing, hatching, transforming their hosts. The creature effects are 100% practical and surprisingly advanced for such a low-budget flick. Over 400 animatronic and puppet ticks were used to bring the infestation to life. The transformations are nasty, featuring bloated limbs, pulsating underskin movement, and full-on mutations that would make David Cronenberg proud. Seth Green stars, but the real lead here is the sound design. Wet, squishy, chittering noises that still make your skin crawl. The movie barely got a release, but if you caught it on cable late at night, you probably never forgot it. Even now, some people check their socks twice after a hike, just in case. Number 4. Castle Freak, 1995. Castle Freak was one of those video store horror movies you picked up because the cover was creepy and then immediately regretted watching. Directed by Stuart Gordon and filmed inside a real 12th century Italian castle, the movie is unsettling before anything even happens. Then you meet the freak, chained up, deformed, starved since childhood, and somehow sympathetic and terrifying all at once. The makeup work on Jonathan Fuller took over 7 hours a day to apply, and it's worth every minute. The creature's injuries are modeled after medieval torture methods, and the dungeons he lurks in are actual historical torture chambers. The movie isn't just gross, it's sad, uncomfortable, and filled with the kind of shadows your brain keeps seeing even after the lights are on. There are no jump scares here, just quiet, creeping dread, and the idea that somewhere, something like this could actually happen. You didn't watch Castle Freak and move on. You watched it and then looked at every basement differently forever. Number 3. Fire in the Sky, 1993. Some alien movies are exciting. Fire in the Sky is not. It's horrifying. Based on the real-life story of Travis Walton, who claimed he was abducted by aliens in 1975, the movie builds slow, grounded in the lives of blue-collar loggers. But then comes the abduction scene, and it does not let you go. The inside of the alien ship was designed with reversed gravity sets, real surgical tools, and disturbing levels of anatomical detail. D.B. Sweeney, playing Walton, is naked, paralyzed, and surrounded by gray-skinned creatures who calmly prepare him for some of the most clinical, cold medical procedures ever filmed. It's claustrophobic, slow, and awful in the best way. There's no over-the-top score or action here, just the cold mechanics of experimentation. If you believed in aliens before, this movie confirmed your worst fears. If you didn't, it might have made you reconsider. Even people who love science fiction tend to file this one under once was enough. Number 2. Night of the Demons. 3. 1997. By the third installment, most horror franchises are running out of steam. Night of the Demons 3 didn't get that memo. This direct-to-video sequel brought back Angela and all the haunted house chaos, but this time it leaned even harder into practical effects, surreal kills, and general nastiness. the abandoned house, an actual condemned hospital in Montreal. The demons, designed with up to 15 prosthetic layers per transformation, and the vibe, pure mid-90s VHS horror gold. You've got lipstick possession scenes, hallways that seem to bend and breathe, and glowing eyes that follow you down the hall. The movie doesn't try to be elegant, it tries to get under your skin, and it succeeds. If you were one of the curious kids who rented this thinking it would be silly fun, you probably ended up sleeping with your lights on. For a movie most people haven't heard of, it left a lasting impression on anyone who dared press play after dark. Number 1. The Witches, 1990. Somehow, this one was marketed to kids. The Witches, based on the Roald Dahl novel, seemed innocent enough until Angelica Houston took off her face. That ballroom transformation scene is a rite of passage for 90s kids. The wigs come off, the gloves come off, and suddenly you're staring at these hunched, sharp-nailed monsters with claws for feet and greenish scalps. The witches smell children, they hunt them, and they turn them into mice. It's scary not because it's bloody, but because it feels mean. The main character's trapped in a mouse's body, screaming for help, while his grandmother tries to stay calm and survive. It's weird, it's dark, and it sticks with you way longer than it should. Even the ending is bizarre and bittersweet. The special effects, practical makeup by Jim Henson's Creature Shop, were groundbreaking and grotesque. If you've ever avoided women in long gloves or had a weird fear of hotel ballrooms, this movie might be the reason why. It was never just a kid's movie. Which of these haunted your childhood the most? Or was it one we didn't include? Let us know in the comments, and if you still check behind the shower curtain, just know you're not alone.